What's up, y'all? You already know what it is. It's Matt Forte and Jason Romano here on Sports Spectrum. And man, Jason, we have the honor of having Baltimore Ravens defensive tackle Michael Pierce on the
Yes.
podcast with us today. And Mike has some huge news to tell us. Michael, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. Thank you guys for having me, man. After 9 seasons, after much prayer, talking to my family, just going through the grind, man, and just being satisfied where I am. Looking forward to doing other things in life. I just decided to call it a career. So it's been a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful 9 years. I've had so many people help me along the way. I'd like to thank a few people personally. Obviously, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ first and foremost. I would go to my dad, who sacrificed so much for me to even be here, from down to moving high schools down to Mobile so I could play. He believed in me that much. So thankful to my dad for the sacrifice he made for not only myself, but like I said, for our family. Thankful to my wife for her amazing, amazing support. And then we can go down to Ozzie Newsome, who gave me a start out of Sanford, undrafted kid. I guess not a lot of people felt that I could play, but Ozzie and his staff, Coach Joe Cullen was my first D-line coach. They gave me a chance when not many people were willing to take a chance on me. So I'm grateful to them. I'm grateful for Mr. DeCosta for bringing me back on my second stint in Baltimore. Obviously, Coach Harbaugh, and the list can go on and on and on. I like to say a special shout out to Miss Valerie, who was like a mother to me, one of our secretaries in the front office in Baltimore, and just all of my teammates, man, from obviously, Lamar Jacksons and all those guys, but Kyle Van Noy, one of my best friends, Brent Urban. The list can go on and on, but I would be remiss if I didn't shout out two of my big brothers, Terrell Suggs and Brandon Williams. If they didn't have confidence in me, I probably wouldn't have had confidence in myself. So I'm super grateful to all those people. And like I said, I've thanked a lot of other people before I left the building, but those deserve a special, special shout out.
Well, man, thank you for that, man. And thank you for using Sports Spectrum as a platform to even announce this because as a former NFL player, I know we have media access to pretty much anything and any platform that we can use. And you chose to use Sports Spectrum, as I did as well when I ended up calling it a career and retiring. And I thought it was important. But for you, tell me what went through your mind on that process of why. I guess two questions. So first, you had a year left on your contract. You
Mm-hmm.
could have played another year. What led you to this decision of saying, I'll forsake the NFL money, maybe the NFL lifestyle, and some of these doors that are open that get closed in transition? Why now? But then also, why Sports Spectrum?
So I'll answer the first one first. Sports Spectrum. So, like I said, it's not something I was initially aware of per se, but I heard your story and special. And I'm gonna give you your flowers right now. My pops played at Tulane, played running back, and you broke all his records. So I was younger at the time when you were coming up at Tulane, but I think we went to one or two of your games back then. We're from Mobile, it's a 2-hour ride from New Orleans. But no, I always like to watch you play, man. So like I said, to hear your story and kind of see parts of it, obviously not the whole thing, but from college, that was awesome. And then, like I said, I was sitting in PAO about 2 years ago, and then I heard your story and how you did it. But ultimately, man, like you said, even at PAO, which people don't get to know, it's just about bringing God's light and bringing it through sports. Is something that like I said, depending on where you choose to go post retirement, you may not get that media recognition anymore. So unless you go into ESPN or something like this or another platform, your light starts to dim as far as like world broadcasting wise. So I wanted to bring light to God. Obviously, He's the only reason I'm here. So no, I just wanted to give you your flowers, brother, and
Amen.
And make sure I said that. But remind me of the second question. I apologize.
Yeah. So in the second question, just you had a year left on your contract. 9 is a good number, but 10 is a nice round number. Some people may
Indeed.
say that too. But I'll give you for example. On my career, 10 years in, I think I was close to maybe 200 yards or less away from 10,000 rushing,
Oof.
and I could have went to another team, been a third down back, or played another year or two, something like that. But I had some injuries mounting up, and I was like, you know what? I think the family time for me was
Mhm.
why I chose to step away from the game under my own strength too.
Mhm.
So I don't know if that's the same for you. So I wanted you to just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, no, I don't have any gaudy stats I was chasing, man. I'm a nose guard. I'm in the middle of the trenches, brother. But
No,
no,
you could have you got that interception, and we was trying to be the defensive tackle to have multiple interceptions. I'm not sure what the record is, but we could find it.
I'm probably sure it's J.J. Watt. Now I'm nowhere near his Hall of Fame career, brother. But no, in reality, man, like you kind of said, I got married 2 years ago, so I'm 32. Will be 33 this upcoming November. For me, like I said, I've had a ton of injuries, as you can admit, as you cannot admit, as you can, I'm sure compared to. So torn biceps, knees, backs, all that kind of stuff. So in 2020. I 2020, 2021, when I came back to the Ravens, I told them that was gonna be the last contract I ever signed. So I meant that at the time. And like I said, we've been so close to chasing the Super Bowl. You can keep pursuing that dream and pursuing that dream. It doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna happen. I also obviously hope that they can achieve that dream next year. But for me, man, I tore my quad last off season just running a straight line.
Mm.
Did not get it surgically repaired. I didn't make any announcements on that, so that'll be something new. But I ended up tearing my calf again in the same year. So last season I missed like 6 or 7 games. So after those injuries start to mount up, man, like I said, we're relatively young. I don't have any kids. My wife and I plan on having children. Like I said, for me, man, most of my goals, I grew up with 3 or 4 idols. Once I became a nose guard, you had Gilbert Brown, Vince Wilfork, and BJ Raji, and my favorite is Casey Hampton. So
Mm.
most of them folks, they didn't get a ton of shine, but they all ended their careers probably 8, 9, to 10 years in. So I'm right around that. I found joy in my job. I loved my job, but like I said, man, once you're in those trenches for so long and those injuries start to mount up, you just kind of trying to prevent the next one. So instead of
Mm-hmm.
walking on that field with joy towards the end of that season last year, I was more so like, okay, I don't need to get hurt anymore. Let me,
Yeah.
you don't want to play without that childlike joy, without that excitement. So now I promised my wife after I had my bicep surgery in 22, if I tore something else or I needed surgery on something else, I was gonna be done. So no, man, I'm grateful for everything that God has blessed me with, man. And like I said, it's been a true joy. And like I wanted to say, the interception was my notice from God. It's time to go home. So I got to
Yeah.
do everything. That was my last regular home season game on an amazing note. And yeah, man, it can't get no better than that in my eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I feel you on that one because you caught that pass so cleanly, and then you was like you started to hit the jets and said, you know what? Let me take a slide.
Let me take that
You
knee.
probably had that in mind, like I tore my quad running in a straight line. Let me not chance it.
No, and
But
look, I just came back from that torn calf like 3 weeks, 3, 4 weeks ago. So I wouldn't have made it all the way down there if I tried, brother. Look, I was like, hey, we're going to playoffs. If I run this far, man, I am going to be in trouble. So, nah, man, I was still in treatment for that joint every day. So, nah, man,
yeah.
it worked out the way it was supposed to. For sure.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because that's some of the things that fans don't they know about, but they kind of take it for granted. Is that we go through a lot of different traumatic injuries that for the everyday person could be, hamper them for a year or, even more. And we rush these things to get back to play this game. And that kind of was what mounted up. You have guys like Andrew Luck. He
Mm-hmm.
had a long career ahead of him. He was like just so beat down because every year he had something to deal with. And essentially at the end of my career, I kept having to have my knee drained with this giant needle, and I was like tired of doing it. So um, I appreciate you for sharing that, but then also for grinding through that to show, what football is great, but God is better than everything else that He puts in our life. So, um, with keeping in that same step, when it comes to Jesus and what He's done in your life, you were undrafted in 16. Uh, Shout out to you because you went to Tulane too for a little stint. But
Well, I met my wife. Best.
hey, and you see, great things come out of Tulane. I'm telling you, it's the hidden gem of the South. But anyway, but in the same step how Ozzy and Coach Harbaugh and these people they've seen something in you that seemingly some of the scouts have missed because they took a chance on you saying, we'll take him. Nobody drafted him, but we'll take him, and I feel like he has a place here. How have you seen that in your life through through God? You know what I'm saying? Because God sees what other people don't see. He sees because He knows the potential that He's put in you. How have you seen that?
Man, like I said, I slightly mentioned my pops moving our family. So I started off as a linebacker, if you can believe it or not. I played high school ball at like 270. I ran 4.6. I was a decent athlete, but just nobody plays
It's a
linebacker,
big linebacker.
especially not in high school. I won a lot of awards and all that stuff, man. So like I said, my football journey has just been a little different. Like I said, I didn't get a ton of offers out of high school. That's how I ended up at Tulane. No disrespect intended.
Same thing.
But that wasn't necessarily my first choice. But no, man, I just seen God move. And as I reflect on things, obviously as I'm wrapping up my career, I've seen God move in so many ways. So for my dad to be able to financially move our family even 40 miles, get another home in the middle of I guess it was the housing bubble crisis, right? I think that was '09, if you will, or so,
Yeah.
somewhere around there. To be able to find something to be able to move our family just based on not on my sons going to the NFL, but the first high school that I went to, they didn't believe I could play. And, I ended up winning the state championship, player of the year, and all this other stuff. But my dad saw something in me and had enough faith in me. Obviously, well, I can't say obviously. One, I'm a pastor's kid. So my dad's
Mm.
a pastor. He's big on faith. We're in the middle of the Bible Belt. A lot of people don't understand that from where we're from. You'll find a Waffle House on every corner and probably a church deep down south in Mobile. So, no, man, like I said, God has just allowed for me to escape obstacles sometimes that most people wouldn't. So most people's parents can't just pick up and move them 40 miles away so they can play in the game and what I'm saying, just live their high school dreams not knowing what's to come in the future. So I seen God allow for us to do that, and then I seen God allow for me to play on the team with 5 future NFL players on the same high school team, and they all from the same area. And then he allowed for me to go to college when I didn't have a lot of offers, a lot of interest, regardless of the accolades that I accumulated, right? And like I said, when I got to the league, man, it was just more so I'm 6 foot. At most times, I'm the shortest lineman on the field, regardless of offense or defensive line. So, as you grow up and you see like none of these guys, you try to find people who are your size, your height, your weight, whatever the case may be. There was just not many people. And I'm not Aaron Donald. And there was no way I was going to run a 4.6 at 330 pounds at the time. So, no, man, I just saw God just move obstacles. And I could just go on about just how little things that, I may have gotten myself into or things that have just been placed in my way. Just got how God has literally moved things, taught me things, and then, allowed me to come out on the other side. So we can go back to 2020. I sat out for COVID. I have bad respiratory issues like asthma and all that stuff. And I've had bronchitis a couple times. And like I said, from that, I went to therapy and worked out a lot of stuff on myself to the part where, prior to me going to therapy and all that stuff, I wouldn't be sitting here today married and confident I'd be a great husband. But through that time and him letting me remove myself from football, not intending on going to therapy, not even knowing much about therapy, to learning about myself, learning some things, and obviously getting better relationally, and then obviously growing in my relationship with Christ. I just been able to do more than, I guess what you say, exceedingly more than abundantly more than you can ever think or
Yeah.
imagine. And that's just my story. And like I said, people may not feel that way, but the longer you get to know me and sit here, like I'm sure you could see exactly how God's handprint has guided me to this point. And then I'm sure He's going to send me somewhere else where I can use His voice and His reason and His grace to magnify His presence in my life and in others as well. So
That's right. That's right.
I can go on and on, brother,
I
but
can hear.
in the
Hey, I
interest
can.
of time, you know what I mean?
No, I
We'll
can
keep
hear
it
the
right there. So
I
no,
can hear the
it's
pastor's
been
kid
awesome.
in your voice. I know your father. That now that you said that, I see the root of your faith. because I'm not a pastor's kid, but my grandfather was a pastor, but my wife is a PK, and they always got certain things to say about PKs. But man, y'all spend, I don't know, using the Bible Belts in the South, and I know I'm from the South too, so I know you was in church probably all day long on some of them Sundays growing up. So uh, that spiritual root has always been in you. Um, just talk a little bit about that too, growing up, being a pastor's kid, and how, sometimes people think, or they look at the pastor's kid and think you're supposed to be perfect, but how God has seen you through those times to, like you said, you've gotten, therapy in a certain time where God's providence allowed you to step away from the game and work on yourself to do that. And then, because there's certain things when it comes to football players, like emotional intelligence, that we don't have because the game doesn't deal with that. It's like, you either you get it or you don't. So there's
Exactly.
not a lot of emotional intelligence to do that, but you were able to do that. So, um, just talk a little bit about that for us.
Yeah, so being a PK, man, it's a prism, if you will. So you say that people live in glass homes. Everybody throws stones at the PK. Funny story, but if you are a PK and you're watching this, man, don't ever expect yourself to be perfect. No one in the Bible has ever lived a perfect life except Jesus. You do feel that pressure, but ultimately, you're your own person. You make your own choices. You have to deal with your own consequences as well. But nah, man, it's a pressure, and it can be a burden. But like I said, sports was my outlet to just explore, be myself, find joy in different things. I was never a person who enjoyed sitting. I don't know too many people who just. I guess it's some folks who just enjoy sitting in church for 4 or 5 hours. We come at church at 9 o'clock. I would like to make it home by 12 to see the first game. So, that's,
Yes.
that's kind of how they do it. And my dad, when he founded his own church, they didn't miss my games at 12 o'clock. That's 1 p.m. on the Eastern Coast. But no, man, it was interesting growing up. Like I said, you have a lot of, more so I felt the pressure from adults versus, the kids. But like I said, I was blessed enough to make good grades and not really get in too much trouble outside of just little stupid stuff high school kids do. But yeah, man, no, you definitely feel that pressure. But for me, it was more so just about just making my family proud. That's the pressure I carried from. And that's what I guess propelled me to, make good grades in high school, go to college, et cetera, et cetera. But no, they're definitely a prism that you can be in per se. It's just about how you perceive it and, just navigating your own way. But I want to tell the people out there, take care of the pastor's kids, man, for sure.
Yeah, for real. Give them some love. Give them some
Give them some
grace.
love, man.
Some
Yes,
grace too.
grace. Grace is big.
Yeah.
The second part was about like emotional intelligence and stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, man. No, so in our world, it's sink or swim, right? If you don't understand something, or if you played terribly, and that Monday, that Tuesday, whatever day your coach chooses to meet, that criticism is coming, regardless. And like I said, my dad played football at high level, so did my little brother, and that's kind of how um, you know, things were done in my house. Like I've always learned, like you don't get praised for things that you're supposed to do. You
Hmm.
get praised for going above and beyond, being great, being exceptional, etc. But you know, that doesn't necessarily work in the real world. Everybody doesn't live in that world. They don't understand. You know, if the best analogy I could give to people is like sort of militant in the
Hmm.
NFL, if you will. They're going to criticize you. They say leave your emotions at the door, and it's coming from a good place. But and something I talk to my wife about all the time is, it doesn't feel good. And they don't care that it doesn't feel good, and nor I mean, I guess you shouldn't. But at the time when you saying something about my play, it's like you critiquing me as a person. So I guess that's where I had to learn that, there's tact, there's this, there's that. There's a lot of things that go between, what we're accustomed to, the military style. Obviously, it's not the military, but, that style of going through life. And I need to look at things a little different, stepping into the regular realm of life. You can't do certain things a certain way. So no, man, it's just about, learning what, emotional intelligence is, learning about myself, learning about how I do different things and how things come off, right? So if I wanted to get into coaching, there'd definitely not be a way to project NFL coaching onto like little league kids or middle school kids or even high school kids. Some people don't understand that. And you see some wild stuff in these little league games and all this stuff, and you're like, hey, they're a
Mm,
former player, they should know better. Maybe they don't have the emotional intelligence to break things down to
mhm.
where a kid can receive it, or not have their feelings hurt and still get the message across. So that's something that, like I said, my dad's a pastor. I kind of learned later in life. I wish I'd have learned it a lot earlier, you know. And but no, man, it's a lot of different things that you can learn about yourself if you just take the time and sit with God. And then, like I said, He ultimately led me to therapy because that was the first thing from my mind. At the time, I just felt like I had a lot of money and a whole bunch of free time, even though I wasn't even going anywhere in COVID. I just had time to do stuff. So
Yeah.
no, it was good that He sat me down and allowed me to learn a lot at that time.
Yeah, yeah, Proverbs talks a lot about having wise counsel and the man who has wise counsel. So it's not bad as a connotation to seek that too. You got to work on yourself, and God places people and gives people talent to be able to do that. Just how coaching styles are different. I remember I had to tell a coach when I was in the NFL, I was like, look, I'm not a yeller guy. Like, you can't yell at me to get me to do something. That doesn't work with me. I'm a grown man. So are you. Let's talk like men. So there's different coaching styles. Some dudes need to be yelled at to get them going. So um, that comes to like identity when we talk about that, because being critiqued on your play, you could kind of, I guess, like you said, take it personal, like they're talking about you personally, if that's your identity being in football. Me and Jason always talk about this, how identity being rooted in Christ is so important.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, one of the guys that was a veteran whose identity is definitely rooted in Christ was a veteran when you came in to Baltimore as a rookie, named Ben Watson,
The GOAT.
our our, our
The
big
GOAT.
brother
The
our
GOAT.
big brother here on Sports Spectrum. And so just talk a little bit about his impact in the locker room and what he's had on you. And then also, as you had your 9-year career, the impact that you kind of had as well. Because seeing someone like that, you obviously want to say, you know what, I want to impact some of the younger guys as well.
Mhm. Oh, I meant to say one thing. Can I say right quick
Yeah.
to the PKs? There's something I had to learn. You cannot get by on your parents' faith.
Mm,
You
that's
cannot get
good.
by on your parents' faith. I had to learn that in college when I got myself into a situation. I wasn't playing and all this stuff, and my life just was a mess. And I ended up transferring to Stanford from Tulane and all this other stuff. I had to learn faith for myself, not through ritual, not through anything else, but through my own relationship. So that's something that was very important that just stuck in my brain. I need to say that. That's
No, that was good. That's good.
first and
Uh,
foremost. Ben, man, he's awesome. So thing I can remember, and I told him about it, man. I should hear him and a lot of older guys because I guess, a PK, or I come from a household where just a lot of wisdom flows. Right? I've learned, and I've always been told to learn from other people's mistakes and listen to wise people, so you don't repeat, or you can, skip some obstacles and just learn a lot of general knowledge. Right? So I remember him talking to Dennis Pitta, Ladarius Webb, sometimes Terrell Suggs, even though he may or may not be listening. Like I said, that's my big brother. I love him to death. But I would just hear him having wise conversations, talking about building families and all this other stuff that didn't apply to a 22-year-old Michael Pierce. But I just remember him having those good conversations with Steve Smith and Joe, and the list can just go on. But I always saw him just stand on what is right and what he believed in, and he did not waver for that for anyone. So whether they disagreed, you can get into apologetics and all that other type of thing. But the one thing I knew, he was a upright man who stood on God's word, and whether somebody disagreed or somebody find fault in the way that he did things, he didn't really care. And that's something that, you don't really see all the time in NFL locker rooms. They certainly have people like that, but he was just one of those guys where, you hear people talk about people that are set apart and just walk a different walk. And, from what I mean, we all have our shortcomings, but I certainly didn't see any. And like I said, he wasn't the biggest name in our locker room. He wasn't like I said, we had multiple Hall of Famers in that locker room, man. But to me, he was one of those guys. I was like, dang, if I could do stuff like, I mean, he had played the Patriots and won Super Bowls and all that stuff. But if I could do something like Ben, that'd be awesome. So, I don't have I don't have I could go on and on. Like I said, there's no end to the words I could use to
Yeah,
describe this man. So now Holmes is, yeah, he goaded in my book for sure.
yeah.
Last question was what?
Just how it's impacted you to do the same in the locker room over your
Yeah.
9-year career.
Yeah, no, man. Like I said, once I went to therapy and just, redefine my identity. You talking about identity, right? So once I realized I'm not only Michael Pierce, the football player, but I started to find out I'm Michael Pierce. I'm a beautiful person. God loves me regardless of what I do on this football field, what I do, because I'm a football player. Like, I am literally starting to learn to love myself, learn to, you know, define myself outside the borders of football through God's love and just through my own self discovery. So, no, man, like I said, for me, it was just, obviously at some point we all want to start a family, we all want to get married, we want to find the right person. But until I made those sacrifices, God wasn't going to bless me with his child. So, me discovering the things that I love, art, I go in the garden and I do all kinds of stuff, bro. It's very atypical. I'm a jazz person. I am very much so in the 1%. They might deem me as weird in the NFL. I don't like rap music any longer. Used to, not nothing Christian or nothing like that. Just I don't care to hear people being murdered all the time. That just makes no sense to me. But another diatribe for another time. Yeah, like I drink tea. I'm a coffee person. I just like good vibes. So, when I made peace with that in myself and just started walking my own walk, like I said, I've seen Ben do it. I've seen my pops do it. I've seen plenty of people do it. But that was my time to say, hey, obviously I still have this platform. I'm going back to football, but for now, I'm just going to walk the way God has called me to walk and be the person he's called me to be. So I've hung out with a whole bunch of different people. I wasn't chasing any fame. I wasn't chasing any, exterior things outside the game. It was just more so being at peace with myself. Doing the things I love to do, and then finding community. And that's the big thing too. Like finding a community of people who love the Lord, who are unashamed to, proclaim his graces, proclaim his love, but also just doing things that you like to do, whether that's deemed cool for the internet or not. That's just what I do. So, I mean, I've found more acceptance, quite honestly, being myself and being a quote unquote oddball, if you will, who drinks coffee and tea and does, things that typical NFL players don't do in their free time, and that's perfectly fine with me. So, yeah, no, man, that's like I said, Ben definitely showed me, and as well as Justin Forsett, they was all on the same team, so I know he's big with y'all as well. Just what that looks like, and like I said, coming in undrafted and playing next to Terrell Suggs, I almost in tears the first day. So just wanting to fit in when God calls us to be set apart and walk a certain walk. So like I said, it's no slight to how anybody else chooses to live, but those two were like big time for me just to see it. I didn't have the words to express it. I didn't have much to say. I just noticed that. And, like I said, it came from my home and how my dad walked, but I wasn't that person at that time to continue that stuff until I, worked on myself.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing to stand out. Like I always tell my kids, you can't stand out if you're trying to fit in. But then also, God's called us to be unique. He's made us unique in that way to be holy and set apart to stand out that way. So,
Indeed.
you'll find out a lot more in retirement, a lot more about yourself, the things that you like that will change as well. But Jason, I'll let him hop in and ask you something.
Yeah, Michael, first of all, thanks for coming on the show, and I'm just excited for what God has in store. And I guess that's a natural question. What do you think he does have in store for you? Like, what do you think is next for you? What are some things that you want to do, maybe besides art and gardening and having some more coffee and tea? But like, where have you thought about, or maybe you haven't gotten that far yet, about where the Lord might be directing your steps?
Yeah, no, I actually think about that quite a bit. So I do want to shameless plug Ransom. It was started at Sanford University by one of my best friends, Jeremy Towns. It started off it's basically a version of FCA, if you will, but it's just like football led, community based athletes. It started off just athletes, and quite honestly, now it's more just students than athletes in these meetings. But basically, same thing as FCA. I've given to them, I guess, since I've been in the league, and I've guest spoke there, but I have a lot more free time. So from that one campus, I think they have 6 or 7 campuses stretching from Campbell in North Carolina all the way down here to one in South Alabama at University of South Alabama. There's one at UAB and et cetera, et cetera. But I'm definitely going to plug in there. I have a lot more free time to be involved with the students and just help guys and just mentor guys. I'm into investing, man. I got a whole bunch of interests. It's kind of dangerous for a person like me to have free time just to be able to do a lot of different stuff at once. But now, more so importantly, my brother who's in finance, he lives in Charlotte. We're gonna do some home flipping and wholesaling down there. Like I said, for me, it's not only about enriching myself, but enriching my family. At some point, once we get that stuff done, we'll do like some affordable housing stuff down here in Mobile. My dad's over the Mobile Housing Authority. So, like I said, it's not about just making money, but it's also teaching people, families, credit literacy, how to own your own home, all those different kind of things. So, yeah, no, we got a lot of different things that I would love to do. I'm going to plug in with FCA. We have an awesome, I need to shout out Johnny Shelton. My goodness, I can't believe I forgot that.
We
Thank
love
you.
Johnny.
And big shout out to Johnny Shelton. He's plugged in with FCA. So I'll do a few things there. I have a former advisor who's at UGA. I like to mentor guys from there, just talk to them, give them any knowledge, any questions they want to have answered. So there's a lot of different things. But like I said, for me, man, I look forward to working to have kids at some point soon. My wife's a pharmacist, so I'll be supporting her. And like I said, I'm gonna put my head down and grind on this real estate deal. And like I said, just do a lot of different things, but definitely try to mentor some guys like high schools and all that kind of stuff around here. Yeah.
That's great. Matt, by the way, I was talking to him yesterday as we were setting up this conversation, and he said he had to do it at a certain time because there was this other time that I had suggested he had to get a workout in. And I told him, hey, you don't need to get a workout, do you? You just retired. And what did you say, Michael?
That is a part of my life, man. That is a joy of mine. I love to lift weights. As a big man, I do not like to run. Now I don't have to necessarily run. I have a bike. I have a Peloton. I can use the elliptical. I don't have to sit out there and run those 300s anymore. Although I will run a little bit, but it's different types of cardio I can do now outside of just torturing myself with those 300-yard shuttles.
Yeah.
You never done those.
I don't even do those anymore.
Not fun. It's not funny.
Yeah, I quit. I retired from 300-yard shuttles too, man. I'm a running back. It's in the name of my position, but I don't even run no more. I do the Peloton. I do stair stepper.
Yeah,
all of that stuff
I'm
too.
acquainted with the stair stepper.
Yeah,
there
it's
you
a
go.
lifestyle. It's a lifestyle, man. It's got to be part. It's actually great mental health if we want to talk about therapy and stuff like that to work out.
That's really good. Well, let me just jump in one more question, just because I feel like we have Matt here. He's been out of the game for 6 or 7 years. He retired on Sports Spectrum. Michael, you just announced your retirement, and now you got a great future ahead of you, but you got Matt here as well. Is there a question or anything you want to ask him? I don't know if it's advice or, whatever that might be as you get ready to enter into your sort of post-football career.
Hey, I appreciate the platform. I don't know. Did you have I guess that game day, we all hate, or maybe you didn't. I hate it during the week. That was like the worst time ever. Like I don't like to practice. I know my job, I know what I need to do, but I've never been like a practice person, right? I feel like I sat out for COVID, but I also knew I was coming back. But I know that first month and a half, there was like a whole feeling like, oh my God, I'm not about to play in this football game. Did you have that one? And two, what did you do to replace that?
So I definitely had that feeling. I was excited post-retirement, and then I actually was football exhausted. I didn't even want to watch. I would watch the Bears if they were on, but I wouldn't watch any other games. I just wanted to remove myself from the game. I was so exhausted.
Like me for real.
Then it came around that year. It came back around, and my body started to heal, so I felt better. And I was like, man, I do kind of feel good. But then you have that mindset too that almost haunts you, is that you never in the facility or at practice want to be caught doing nothing, right? That's why we can't sit down. And I find myself in retirement, like sitting down a little bit. It's like, man, I should be doing something. But my advice, I'll just give you some advice, some transition out of the game advice. You're always going to get the question, hey, Mike, what's next? What's next? What's next? What God is saying in that moment is what's now. So what's now is what's most important. And in a time, in a season like this, because seasons change. You may have a season of being super active doing housing or something else, or you may have a season where you guys have kids and everything gets shut down to focus on that and parenting. Focus on where God has you and what season He has you in, like right now, and don't worry about what's next, because if you focus on what's now, the Lord is going to open the door for what's next, and you're already going to be prepared for it because you focused on what was right now. So I'll give you that tidbit. That's going to be the most important thing. And no one told me that going into transition out of the game. It's just something that I experienced and I noticed that everybody gets asked that a lot, and you start to think forward too much. So focus on what God has, what season He has you in right now, and then you dive into His Word every day, and He'll definitely bring special revelation to you that you can't get from nowhere else but the Holy Spirit.
That's good.
I appreciate that.
That's awesome. Hey, real quick, Michael, you got the football, right? I think we talked about this on the phone yesterday too, but that interception, you said that coaches were playing that on loop for like weeks. You were so tired you didn't even want to watch it anymore. But it was such a great play. It was such a fun play for all of us as fans to watch. But you got the ball, right? They gave you a game ball?
Oh, certainly. No, I got the game ball. I got the actual interception ball. I heard a story Jason told me yesterday about you. I'm erecting a man cave in my home that we're renovating. So that's gonna be front and center, brother. That we got a spot for both of those.
Well, Matt, we got to go down to Alabama when he gets that man cave all set up, and we got to go see that football and hang out down there and maybe even tape another interview.
Hey, y'all ever in town for the Senior Bowl or Mardi Gras? I know, Matt, you familiar with Mardi Gras, but y'all happen to come down for the Senior Bowl? Do y'all go down there for sports?
We haven't, but it might be in the future.
That would be a good interview to have some guys if they would like to do so. But yeah, you get all those top guys coming down for the draft and stuff to interview. But I could do it for y'all if y'all need me. Anyway,
let's go.
I was gonna say that because earlier you said about Justin Forsett. You said he's big with y'all. No, you got to say us. He's big with us because Sports Spectrum is your platform too.
That's right.
And PAO is a ministry. It's your ministry too. As the players, it's pro to pro ministry. So don't look at it as it's y'all. It's you. It's us all together. So if you want to be involved in how we do stuff, not just Sports Spectrum, but within PAO, because you've been married and we want to continue to grow people's lives and grow their marriages and all that stuff within PAO, because we know the statistics post football of divorce and going broke and all that. We can use other brothers and sisters to lock arms with to continue to pour into the guys who are currently playing that may not see what's on the other side. So, yeah, we looking forward to that. But then also, I think we should be in Alabama at some point because as you heard at the conference with Justin Giboney, we're going to probably do a and campaign kind of justice tour. And there's, those, I don't know if you've ever been, have you been to down in Birmingham, to some of the churches down there and the Civil Rights Museum and Edmund Pettus Bridge we did, but then we also went to Montgomery with Brian Stevenson's museum, the Legacy Museum. So those things are like key. So you could be one of those advocates to say, hey, y'all come down and hang out with us.
We're starting to pull up, man. Like growing up here, that's something like you just do. Like they take field trips to these different places during Black History Month and all different types of stuff. Like I said, Sanford University is in Birmingham, and I lived in Birmingham for 5 years prior to me getting married to a young lady from Louisiana. So that's how I ended up in Mobile. But no, I'll definitely pull up. And like I said, I'd love to help in any way that I can, especially with PAO. My wife would probably try to throw something at my head if I did not accept an invitation. So no, any way that I could be a service, brother. Like I said, I have some newfound free time. Obviously, I always got time for, more importantly, I always have time for spreading God's word and loving on others and mentoring and doing anything that's needed. So
that's good. We'll lock arms.
It'd be a pleasure.
Let's lock arms, Matt. You got it.
Yes, sir. Well, Mike, thank you for utilizing Sports Spectrum because, like I said, it is your platform too, to announce your budding career that's going to be post football, but then also, the 9-year career of impact that you had on the NFL as well. So thank you for using Sports Spectrum and thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Congratulations, Mike.
Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for watching Sports Spectrum here on YouTube. You can click our next video, or you can check out our website, sportspectrum.com.